So thank you very much, and I'll call on Paul Martin, the Acting Head of School, to welcome you all.
Thanks, Rob. Great. So welcome everybody, and we're here today to launch a new program, the Diploma in Prosecution and Advocacy. One of the things that we've been trying to do, and I think very successfully, is to talk to different interest groups, different stakeholder groups about what they might value from the law school. And it's on that basis that this particular program has been initiated. Before we open, I'd like to do an acknowledgement to country, which is to acknowledge that we're on the land of the Darug people, and who are the traditional owners of this land, and also the city of Parramatta acknowledges the present Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people who reside within this area. So it's something that, of course, we're always mindful of, and an important thing. So what I'd like to do without much further ado is to ask Mark Elles to come and say a few words to us. Now, Mark I suppose he fits into the category of distinguished alumni, but I guess you'd expect someone a lot older. Sorry about that, Mark. You'll just have to get older. But he's recently moved into his own private practice, but has a substantial amount of relevant experience in this area of prosecution and related matters. So I'll simply hand over to you, Mark.
Distinguished members of the university and members of the law school, guests and friends, I'm honoured to have been invited here today by the UNE School of Law to say a few words at the launch of the school's Diploma in Prosecution and Advocacy. I would briefly like to touch on some points this morning that relate to my overall experience as a student at UNE, my experience at UNE as a student of law, how I came to advocacy, my work as a prosecutor, and finally, UNE Law School's Diploma in Prosecution and Advocacy. My overall experience as a student at UNE. I attended the university as part of my LLB course of study from 2009 to 2012. And I chose to study law at UNE due to its comprehensive distance education program. I considered that such a program would allow me to continue to meet other professional and personal commitments while studying law. Indeed, it was the case that the university's flexible online program allowed me to do so. My experience at UNE showed me that UNE is grounded in community, and it is UNE's priority of community that makes it such a special university. Though when I first attended UNE as a distance education student, I anticipated that a sense of isolation may follow, but happily that was not the case. Despite studying by distance, a strong spirit of community permeated all facets of university life that I was exposed to. That spirit of community was only strengthened through the extensive support of faculty members and interaction online with other students. And I can wholeheartedly say that I met some inspiring staff and students in what was a diverse and talented body of thinkers. I've also had the privilege of remaining in touch with some of those persons to this day. My experience at UNE as a student of law. That sense of community extended to a spirited law school with lecturers and tutors who loved the law and who were keen to impart their knowledge of it. Their largesse spread widely as they did their utmost to guide students through coursework in a practically focused and structured way. Both lecturers and tutors were always willing to go just that extra mile to assist students and facilitate online discussion. Not to mention their running of residential schools at either UNE's Armidale campus or in Sydney, at which students were able to learn in person within a group environment. And such occasions also provided a great meeting place where knowledge and experiences could be shared firsthand. how I came to advocacy. By my last year of law, I remained unclear as to the direction of my legal career. Though it was at that time that I undertook Elles 480, Advanced Research, Writing and Advocacy, which became the catalyst for my decision to become a solicitor advocate. Under the guidance of the course coordinator, Paul Acon, who's here with us today, my experience of Elles 480 proved to be highly rewarding in terms of the satisfaction that one derives from preparing for a matter through rigorous intellectual application. In fact, I became personally driven by Paul Acon's mantra, preparation, 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 in the form of research, reading, writing, internalisation, and dare I say flexibility and improvisation as an advocate. Indeed, it is in the cut and thrust of the local court that one must not only be prepared, but resourceful and ready to improvise based on a well-rounded knowledge of the law and legal practice and procedure. In that way, an advocate can effectively make submissions, address their opponent's submissions, and deal with situations that may arise in court. My work as a prosecutor. I was admitted as a solicitor to the Supreme Court of New South Wales on the 15th of February 2013, after which I worked at the Director of Public Prosecutions New South Wales as a prosecution officer for over 2 years during 2013 to 2015, and more recently throughout 2016 as a prosecution officer at the Australian Taxation Office. At the Director of Public Prosecutions, I prepared and appeared in short matters and instructed Crown prosecutors in trials in both the District Court and Supreme Court. At the Australian Taxation Office, I prepared and appeared in summary matters in the local court and instructed the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions in complex and defended matters. Throughout that time, the mantra of good preparation was at the centre of my work as a prosecutor. The more prepared that one is, the more effectively and succinctly that one can argue a case and be well placed to assist the court. UNE Law School's Diploma in Prosecution and Advocacy. It is only natural that work in the local court, or any jurisdiction for that matter, involves a steep learning curve for the uninitiated. Some prospective students here today may be seasoned advocates of the local court, or of other jurisdictions for that matter. I, for one, have found that as a young solicitor, it is the combination of practice and procedure and knowledge of the law, particularly its evidentiary aspects, that can present challenges to a junior advocate. Moreover, witness conferences, the examination of witnesses, and legal argument are all aspects which require attention and care. Typically, I have found that one can learn about such things by working with senior lawyers, preparing well, and ultimately through personal exertion. Though it is my view that a course such as the Diploma in Prosecution and Advocacy can make one's entrance into prosecution and advocacy smoother, complement a fresh advocate's practical experience, or even add an extra dimension of understanding to those who already have a degree of experience as prosecutors and advocates. The diploma can do so by focusing students on fundamental areas of prosecuting, from negotiating pleas through to appearing in court and making submissions on sentence. Indeed, it may be opportune to undertake such a course at a time when government departments and other bodies are having their budgets curbed and purse strings tightened. As such, they may not necessarily be able to afford to offer the type of structured training that a course such as the diploma can provide. In filling that gap and facilitating the acquisition of core skills as a prosecutor and advocate, the Diploma in Prosecution and Advocacy seems to me an ideal course for the aspiring advocate and in-house prosecutor. Thank you.
So just to reinforce, one of the things that we are very proud of and that we try very hard to do is to make sure that we look after people. And it's something that's reflected in the university and the school's consistent achievement of very high ratings for student satisfaction and for performance.